And live. Yay. Awesome. Tension with intention. Hello, y'all. Welcome to this edition. And y'all know, I'm going to give you a second to come in here and get comfortable. Y'all know that it's about to be me and Madame Posh in here. So get comfortable. Open your hearts and your minds. Get ready in your own ways. Hello.
Hello, I'm just getting a little bit better angle for the Instagrams.
Yes, no problem. No problem. I'm excited too. Yes, we are about to chit chat. For those of you who, just to remind everyone, now that we're at the beginning, tension with intention as we wait on Madame Posh to come in here. I want to let everyone know, remind you, we will only be on Instagram for 1 hour. We will only be on Instagram for 60 minutes. And please tune on to, oh, there we go. Please tune on to Facebook. Oh,
Is that me or you?
I think it's not me. My computer's muted.
It sounds very witchy. It sounds very witchy.
Oh, uh-oh. There's a connection issue that's happening. There's a connection. Oh, here we go. You're back.
Oh, no. I'm seeing that again. Hold on.
There we go. Oh, you sound, oh, it sounded normal. It sounded normal for a second. But anyway, we will get back to that. It's hard to stream to multiple places at once, which is why you should take advantage of going to the Rope Witch Facebook, or you can go to the YouTube. It will be uploaded on YouTube after we are finished, but it is actually streaming live right now on Facebook. So hop on over to Facebook if you intend on watching past the 60-minute mark that we are allowed here on the Instagrams. The link is in my profile as well if you need that quick access to Facebook. So okay, look, it's happening. Okay, it's happening. Yes, this is good. This is good. Okay, so welcome. Yay. So happy that you're here. So happy that we've got this all set up. How are you managing in today? Although I already know, but I'm asking for our audience today.
Today I'm actually doing good. I shouldn't say that. I'm doing good every day. I'm alive. And I'm really my head and I feel me. But today we're in full stuff. We went down to the festival for Kink yesterday, which was really fun, and got some footage. And we went out footage here today with Kink.
Awesome.
So I'm actually really excited. He's sitting on the couch over here, so we're excited to get those pictures edited and out. And I think he's going to use it for his This is Black America campaign. So that will be very fun. I got to handle it.
Oh, which every Black American could probably be doing.
Yes. Not loaded. We were very safe, but it was very fun. So excited for that to come out. And then we had obviously this scheduled, and then after this we were headed down to some protesting outside of down where Black Wall Street is, and then maybe outside of where the Trump rally is.
Yeah, I heard there's a lot of people coming through there today. We've been sort of keeping in touch, and I know some people that live over there, and I know that on both ends, people seem to be riled up and out there, which, in my activist mind, I'm always like, yes, but then it's also like scary as shit. That stuff in Oklahoma is not a joke. I'm like, ooh, I don't mess with Oklahoma in those people. So just like,
yeah,
be safe.
it was really funny. I kind of like when this opportunity came up to go, I was like, oh, we're going. And then it was a very delayed reaction of like, I was like, oh, I'm going because this is history. It's 15. Like Trump's president is going to be like, all this stuff is happening. And I was like, oh, wait, it's also dangerous because of all of those things. But we've been, we've stayed safe. I've been to 3 protest marches already. And I mean, I'm already someone just in normal vanilla life that's like, okay, so these are our exits.
So I just awareness.
Yes, and and use some of my inner intuition of okay, it's time to get out time to leave. And also just, simple things like trying to get out before dark too. I mean, dark is when people who want to cause trouble.
Yeah. That's number one protest rule. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't, I think actually I may have seen on your page a few weeks ago, I can't remember who reposted it. Somebody reposted like the roles of people during this movement. And like, I don't see my role anywhere else. Like, I am a big advocate for like Black women, staying home and kids staying home. I don't trust the police, no matter who you are. But I also understand that everybody has a role, and even in the Black Panthers, Black women had to step up for more of those, kind of warrior positions and roles on the front lines when the Black men got put in jail or killed, to be honest. So I feel like this is kind of the role that I feel in this movement, and I'm totally fine with it. I'm prepared. I got my helmet, we got our goggles, we've got a white getaway car. So I think we'll be good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think that we all I like that you said that you brought up the roles thing. I definitely think that there have been a lot of, especially just meeting with my Black community here in Austin, and there are a lot of people that want to be out there but can't. And then there are also people doing it in different ways. I've been to a couple of peaceful protests in the last 2 or 3 weeks that were just specifically wellness based, specifically yoga based. I had a Juneteenth rest event yesterday where it was literally just come rest your bones type of thing.
I mean, some people just come drop off waters, just come drop off snacks. That is, feeling. You think you want to go back to ancient times when you think of when an entire military unit was moving, like the Romans, right? The majority of the unit wasn't the military; it was all the support staff.
Yeah.
Right. It was the people who fed them and the people who helped, the squires or whatever else they had back then, right? So if in any movement there's the people behind the scenes, there's the people doing the paperwork and organizing. My friend Sushi has done a lot of behind organizing to help me with stuff. I give her a lot of mention one-on-one because that's really what is important to her. But that's how she's been able to kind of, she's a white ally, and that has helped her to feel like she's involved and something, because she's in a career where she can't really stay arrested. Same with my partner, and if you're in the medical field, you don't need to be out here. We need you on 2 different fronts.
Already on the front lines.
Exactly. You've been on the front lines. But then I also feel like understand the need to do something. And so again, bringing support, helping people that are going out are things that you can do. And then I've had some of my white ally friends as well that are doing the educational work that a lot of people are asking us to do, that are like, hey, you should actually be going to white allies that know more and ask them what you need to do or what you need to listen or watch. And at the same time, I'm also going to encourage people do even better. We're asking you to get information about something. How do you get information about any other thing? Google. Just it's not like you need a human being to verbally retell you the history.
Well, that's a nice way to say it. I'm sorry. I'm so out of energy. Y'all are catching me on a day where it's I got this much. And so the harshness that might come across in the next hour plus, but
let it out.
The internet lately has just been Google is free. I'm not free, but Google is free, and you have total and complete access to libraries and education and people and just things, and also just knowing when you said knowing your face in the advocacy, in the fighting for your rights, in the protest realm. Even I think it's the same with education. It's just sort of knowing the place of. And I know it is not my place. I know for me, it is not my place to usher white people through their discomfort of understanding that they're racist. That's not for me.
I've already been doing that
times.
That's my life.
yeah, I don't want to have to, and I get it. It's all part of the process. Like, I am so here for you having feelings. Like, I am so here for that. It is just not my expensive times job to sit with those feelings and have to then field all the aggression that comes as a result. And like, that is your white ally's job, is to sit with you through all of that. Like, but what if, the discomfort of being wrong, the discomfort of realizing that even unbeknownst to you, you can be wrong.
Yeah. And then also, like, I think there's some forgiveness that needs to happen of oneself. Like, you need to forgive yourself for the fact that you don't know this, and the fact that you weren't aware of this, or the fact that this didn't come across, because, and also, like, forgive yourself, but then also realize that it's not for everyone, but for some people, it's not 100% their fault, right? Like, you're in a community that's like, there's a Black person, you're not going to see them at the grocery store, right? There's still a lot of places like that in our country, and so you only get a little bit of these stories. And again, if you don't have any Black friends in your life, which doesn't necessarily mean that you're racist, it can, you are products of their environments, right? But it's like they're realizing this, and then some people are being defensive, like, I don't want to realize I'm wrong. And then some people are realizing they're wrong, and then they just want to be in this big guilt of me. And it's like, no, we don't have time for that right now. We're going to have time for that in the future, but we don't have time for that right now. Because that's years of therapy process. Same way for Black people, right? Like, we are not going to deal with all of our trauma in the next month or week or couple, like, no, but we're going to keep going. And we also maybe have a little practice having to do that. But I think that it's okay to feel that guilt, and then kind of right now need to put a little box, and we're gonna get to it, but we're gonna just a little bit later. Just a little bit later. It's valid. We're gonna get to it. But like, if you got a job and you have to go into a business meeting, and your boyfriend breaks up with you right before, you can't be like, hey, I'm sorry, I can't do business. I'm like tearing and upset right now. You kind of got to pull it together and still like do your job.
Man, please. Yeah. And if you're a white person experiencing guilt, you can almost transform that also into a good kind of anger, because just as Black people are subject to institutional racism, you are as well. These microaggressions you find yourself falling into are because the whole system gears you into that mindset. Like when you say do Google searches. If you're a white person who do Google search on racism, chances are your Google search is going to be slightly.
It might, based on the algorithm.
And it's true. It'll give you an algorithm which kind of reinforces that racism.
When you listen to Fox News,
if you're listening to Fox News saying pro-white, not even just racist, but those who are not anti-racist kind of sites, the algorithm will, every time you do Google what is racism, it'll reach you to other
yeah.
And it's not really a big deal, etc. And if you realize that, you can transform that into no,
they did, because you should be angry that they didn't really tell you our history.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, I didn't figure out history, American history, until like recently.
Yeah.
And also, I just think that there's no space. There's never been spaces for us to process through these feelings on any type of like stage or even privately with our own friends. And I've been talking about this a lot recently, because when I just remember as a child not understanding, because there was no vocabulary really around white fragility. There was no vocabulary that was like mainstream about that, but I knew what it was, because I knew what it was when my white friends would get super, super offended and touchy about like different things as young as like 9 years old, of just like understanding like that you do realize that like this is what's going on, and this is why I feel this way about, leaving the store without a receipt or going into the store with, just all these different things, and them just getting like super uncomfortable. There was no language around it. There was no like you're just being, a fragile white person. Like there was no understanding. It was like, we're shutting you down because that's not true, and we're not going to talk about that. And so now it's like we when, as you were saying before, we're calling on the resilience, and this is something that I've said also recently speaking at a protest, is like, we're calling on white people to have the resilience that Black people, especially Black women, have had for forever, which is like, the feelings have to be dealt with, but you got to keep going. Like, you got to pick it up, you got to keep heading forward.
You got to keep your kids' feet like fed, you got to, like, you know, and yeah, that is, oh yeah, that's so true. Oh, sorry, I totally lost my train of thought for a second. Continue with what you were saying.
Oh no, I think you and I were speaking before we came on live a little bit about, we were speaking specifically about, and I know you have also resonated with some stories that we've told about, like, growing up and different experiences, but also correlating what's been going on in the world and how it has a reflection, and it exists in its own microcosm in the kid space, and that it's also just, you can see it starting to explode in all of these different, like, subcultural spaces, because of, you know, what has come up with you in the last week in terms of, and when I say in the last week, I mean that some of y'all are just not hearing about this shit, but I also am someone who've heard about this shit for quite a while and experienced some of this shit, so, like, welcome to the party. But what has been happening with you, and then also something that a lot of people on this end of my life don't know, what's been also happening with me in the vanilla world is something very similar, and how there is no difference. Like, there is no difference just because we're talking about road and we're talking about conferences and we're talking about, like, all of this. It's all the same bullshit, and it's all the same judgment. It's all the same held to different higher standards. It's all of the same elitist academic bullshit of which. Also, we have to understand is that there is a patriarchy, white supremacy, elitism, and racism embedded into academia, and, you know, how people perceive education. And so just, like, understanding all of the layers that exist, it hits you from all ends. So I just think that we have a unique perspective and opportunity to not only talk about how that's hit you, and you know, for anybody in here who might not know, if you have a Cliff's Notes version of your experience you'd like to share.
Someone actually very kindly in my community has made a Cliff Notes version of each part, so I can post that.
Yes.
If you are maybe hearing it or watching it instead of watching video. Just very quickly, I just told my story about my experiences with the Dallas-Fort Worth community and on Dallas, and the road community in Dallas. And to be honest, like, there we go. I knew we'd come back when I was thinking it. The gaslighting about this shit not being real. That is so, like, I mean, one of my social groups that I had for a majority part of my kid experience ended because apparently the white individuals had been feeling uncomfortable about me talking about race for a long time, which to me was, again, felt like a betrayal because I wasn't aware of that. Like, I thought they were comfortable, they laughed at my jokes, they got to tell jokes that they probably wouldn't be able to tell in front of other people that we laughed about because I thought they were on the board and on the message, right? And I'm like, no, you're with us, like, you can. And now I'm like, man, I can't even give someone a black card anymore because I don't really fucking know. And then also, like, the ignorance of, you know, one of the main conversations that came up was that I think I said that, like, I could understand why a black female thought that someone in the community could have been racist based on my experiences with him. And my friend got really upset. She's like, no, like, I know he's tied this person and this person who are both Asian. And I was like, okay. So he's tied like hundreds of people. And you were trying to tell me, I'm not even saying he's racist. I wasn't saying that. I'm saying I can understand how someone got that feeling. And your defense was, well, he's tied to Asian people one time. Which in Japanese rope bondage is not even that crazy. Like, and so it ensued in an argument where for some reason I was told that, like, I don't think Asian people are a minority or that there's racism against Asian people. And I was like, no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if What I'm saying is that if a white man wants to bring an Asian woman home to marry, there are less families that will disown him. Right? That's what I'm saying. Is that even within people of color,
Colorism is real.
Yeah, there's a class structure, there's a colorism, and Black women are always at the bottom.
We're always at the bottom. And also, I'm just on that rage tip. I'm sorry, you just like triggered my.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I need people to understand is almost every civil rights movement that of any type of civil rights has been emulated from Black people trying to get their freedom. Okay, and Black women have historically and always fought for everyone to the point that now when we're trying to fight for us, people are still like, but what about? And it's like, no.
We aren't even fighting for them.
Yeah, exactly. People are just like, but hold on, what about us? And it's like, no one is saying like, screw you. It's just the fact that we are trying to. So I need people to understand that Black women have historically fought for everything, and we are always at the bottom. We are always at the bottom rung of what anybody wants or needs for anything. This comes out crystal clear in the specifically woke, I will say specifically woke world. And there are so many people probably even on this live right now watching us that I know who genuinely come from a kind-hearted place and may even care about me as a human. But it's like what we were discussing before, are still calling on me doing like work and shit right now. Whether it's like for their brand or come teach or come, do whatever. And it's this understanding that even if you don't mean for it to be, a lot of what's happening right now, a lot of this knee-jerk, like, I swear I'm not racist reaction is performative. It's let me contact every Black person that I know in the woke world and see if they want to teach a class for my brand.
You don't even know them though. Like, you're saying you know them because someone like shared them on your story on Instagram. You don't even know us. So again, one thing for you to have a relationship with a Black person and be like, hey, this shit's going on right now. Do you want to come teach? Do you want to come be the head? Because they're already part of your group. Reaching out to people you have never talked to before. I have educators that have reached out to me who I've met in your class and shook your hand, who are like, I've never heard of you before. And I'm like, there's no way I didn't stand out as the only Black female rigger in your class, but it's just it's frustrating. I mean, I recently stepped down from an educational event that I agreed to in the midst of like seeing emails and didn't really understand how big it was. And I just stepped down because I was like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna have the energy, time, or to make a career. Like, I'm trying to find enough students to get the queue because I've already committed to that, right? And also because I think it's very important and I love the lineup. But like, I had to step back from it right now because I just don't like I changed my profile a little bit too because I was like, if you can't tell, like if you're looking at my timeline, there is pretty obvious at what point that I was like, oh, okay, well everything else is on hold right now.
Yeah.
And so at the same time, I mean, again, I don't want to discourage people from reaching out to me because I do have the headspace to do it. And I would rather you reach out to me than some other people. But at the same time, like, I was shocked at how many people were, I'm like, if this was a consent violation, if I had come out and said these people are raped, do you think it would have been appropriate for this to reach out to me within 24 hours? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone in the community would have said, no, that's appropriate behavior. I don't think, and that, I guess that's the issue I have is like, so wait, so is a consent violation worse than rape? Because why are we not treating it the same with the same amount of power behind it?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I had my accuser, like the abusers, reach out to me within 24 hours.
Of course.
And be like, so I heard you did a video about me. I didn't watch it, but like, you want to start a dialogue? No, I have to go talk to my therapist now because I just read this message. Like, because you've triggered me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and I don't use that word lightly. I'm not I'm not. That legit triggered me. I have had physical anxiety for the last week. You know? So I let people know what that's like. And so, you know, I've had to sit there, and again, I'm 30. I've been a Black woman my whole life, and I'm 34. So I've had to have my own agency and defend myself and speak up for myself for a majority of my life. So I have no problem doing that, especially in private situations. But I just want to know, like, hey, I don't even know why you're messaging me. Stop messaging me. Step one. Your messaging would have been valuable the last year and a half, because then I wouldn't have had to spend 3 days doing a video. But like, I'm hearing again. I don't know who you are, but you speak for them somehow. And then I've had some people that have been trying to be, I don't know if they did this consciously or just didn't mention it, but I was like, okay, I know you didn't mention it, but I know you work with that. So like, I know you're here to get information.
Yeah.
I also know that they asked what the next steps forward would be, and I gave them the next step forward and what they should do. I gave them 5 steps again, work I don't need to be doing. But instead, again, they have decided to, behind the scenes, not address anything publicly, try to find Black people to hire. But again, the people who make the decisions, nothing's changed.
Which I want to like point on that for a second. I want to like highlight that, because I want to first say that when I said, and I don't want to discourage people from reaching out to me either, because I think that's important. But I think it's important to, like I say about everything, what is your intention? Because me uplifting your brand doesn't help me as a Black person. That helps you. It's not racist. And it helps you get a better education for your website and your IGTV and your stuff that I also have. So I don't know why I would be building
and
that again.
Are you paying them?
Exactly.
Are you paying them? Because again, how is your solution? Let's go ask more Black people to do free labor to make us look good so we can still sell tickets next year.
Exactly. And then but also just speaking a little bit about like how I've also been facing something very similar to this, as most people who on this channel may or may not know, I teach yoga in Austin. Austin's the least progressive but fake progressive city in the fucking continental United States, and like it's just white people out here just not giving a fuck about shit. That's really that's all I can comprise in my brain to even explain that situation. But that's exactly what has also happened on my end, is that I resigned from a studio this week after their lack of engagement to actually incorporate any anti-racism initiatives within the system of the culture of their studio that I have been in for a while and also heard about for a while before I even started working there. And their first line of action the day after I sent my resignation letter was to contact 3 of my Black friends who also teach yoga to see if they can come in and essentially replace me as the Black token person so that they can keep getting Black people to come to their studios and give them their money. And this is performative tokenism at its best, and it's brand saving. I want people to understand that. This is people saving their brand. This is people saying, oh, well, I built up this brand. I put my blood, sweat, and tears into this studio. I built this community, and now I don't want to trash because people think I'm racist. So it's let me reach out to all the people that I have traditionally stepped all over and not given a shit about to try to come in and provide labor and work and bring their community in and tell them to bring other Black people here.
While they're in mourning.
Yes. And
while they're in processing, while they're emotionally, and then, by the way, we won't hear from them in 6 months.
No, 6 months, nobody off the radar.
As soon as it's not trending.
Like, we'll see who sticks around and is actually here for this fight, because the longevity is the key, which is why we all have to like be well. But what I also want people to understand is that with all of these microaggressions that we're constantly incurring, like this is constant stress that we always have to deal with, as well as navigating spaces where we never really know, like, do you care if I get murdered? I'm not really sure. Like, and then we're talking about specific things about kink. Like, you're also talking about then having consent of putting rope on my body, and I'm like, and people think it's like petty, right? People are kind of just like, well, I don't know why current events and politics matter. And I'm like, look, if you are willing to say hush hush about Black Lives Matter and about people being murdered in the Austin streets right now, you're not about to put rope on me and me to pretend like we're engaging in some sort of consensual, like fun, like pushing the boundaries, type of stuff when you don't give a shit. And like, I can't trust
also
life or well-being.
Yeah, haven't educated yourself to know some of the historical correlations to a lot of things we do in BDSM. We have a lot of white, and getting out of rope, getting into whips and impact play and other things. There's a lot of white people in the community that do a lot of fucked up, heavy play that are not willing to acknowledge that where some of that came from. And that's crazy. And again, like that's one reason why I'm doing the live on Tuesday about because again, it's correlated to Japanese art, which we look at as an elitist thing, which we look at, like some of the white riggers look at it more elitist than the Japanese people do, like Japanese riggers do. But they only look at it that way because now they have the knowledge to share. So now it has become more elite, right? And which makes no sense, to be honest. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, one of the first projects I went to work on is, I have PowerPoint, pictures of people in rope bondage positions like slavery times that I wanted to recreate. But thank God that I did with any of the rigs that I had talked to about because they were not ready for what that was going to be. But I also kind of resolved the fact that I never find the right riggers to be able to do this project, even though I think it's very important and impactful. But yeah, I think that kind of ignoring things that almost appropriation. I mean, a great example is pole.
Yeah.
Pole is to me is the perfect example of just strict gentrified, like this is now air yoga, and it's like no matter what you want to say, this was developed by Black strippers.
I was about to say this is
not strippers, Black strippers.
Yeah.
So white ladies who go to your little white pole studio in Plano with all your white friends, but then get mad that I don't know, your husbands come to the titty bar and get their dick sucked by Black women.
Yep.
Maybe you should have been at dick sucking classes. I don't know. I'm just joking. But like that I have a real issue with, where I'm like, but okay, I'm gonna have my rant now.
Yes.
You tan. You get butt implants. You want bigger lips. You want longer hair, fuller hair, thicker this, bigger thighs, whatever else. Like, no offense to anyone. This is controversial. I'm gonna go hand. Black men had to be convinced to be attracted to you. You had to create a society where it was a goal to get a white woman for them to be attracted to you. That's why all the slave masters were fucking their slaves.
100%. Thank you.
That's why all the white slave masters were also fucking their slaves.
Absolutely.
While you guys over here talking about whether you biracial, part Black, little Black, drop, we all a little something because we couldn't keep their hands off our asses, whether we were men or women. That's why Black dicks are still fetishized now.
100%. Yep.
And it's really frustrating that I've so many times in my life watched girls be racist, say I'm ugly, call me a donkey, call me this, and be like, bitch, you have butt implants, you have lip implants, you have teeth in, you get your nails done by a Black woman, like you look like Kim Kardashian, but for some reason, like you got a problem, you sold everything. Like I cannot emphasize how much so much has been stolen. No offense. Like I can't even I went live doing a rope last night, and we were jamming. It was a good playlist, and unfortunately, because I'm aware, if you're a woke Black person in America, how can you not be upset and about things, right? But I'm listening to music, I'm like, oh, this is a great song. Sucks they ripped all this music from us. I can't even listen to a playlist where I'm like, where in my life can I escape
everything? It's everything. Like that's why I see Kim in the comments saying nail art. Let me just be honest with you here, because you were really nice about it, and you were like, oh, no offense. I'm just gonna be honest. All of American culture is from Black women. And specifically black people, yes, but black women, 100%. Everything that is in American culture that is popular, everything that has ever been a trend, dyeing your hair, putting weave in your hair, eyelashes, makeup, all the stuff that we had to literally pull from nothing. We weren't allowed in y'all's spots. We weren't allowed to go get our hair done in y'all's spot. We weren't allowed to go get our nails done. We created all that stuff for ourselves. And then now look, I remember when I was a kid, no white woman knew what a weave was. Now these white girls are out here wearing all this fake hair, wearing lace fronts, doing all these TikToks about how to put on their makeup. This is all black women, and that includes the Kardashians and every single like aspect of beauty that we get made fun of, that we get trashed for. Perfect example that I always love to bring up is the difference between Lil' Kim and Katy Perry. The difference between all of these white musicians that come out that dye their hair, that do different voices in their music, that have all these different things where it's trashy when black women do it, but then white girls are gonna like put cornrows in their hair, dye it pink, and then they're like super cute all of a sudden.
And like, it's so edgy though.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just like, this is all black. This is all built off our backs, y'all. And then meanwhile, we're told we're crazy, we're angry, we're
ugly.
Yeah, it's constant gaslighting.
Yeah, it's really insane. And like when you really break it down, and in my private, very ranty moments, I'm like, why do you hate us so much? Because you want to be us? Are you that mad? Yes. The natures, the love, the universe blessed us with all of these things. I'm sorry that your ancestors were in the north of the country and you are pale and frail. I'm sorry, but that's what the universe gave you. And like the only reason we're at the reason why we start all things is because we got nothing to fucking lose. When you're at the bottom, you have nothing to fucking lose. Nothing. How much bottom more can we get? Okay, you may go in this place, you might die. That was probably gonna happen anyway.
Yeah, trust.
So like of course we're gonna start because we can only go up, right? We can only go up. But then also just to like please understand the like double, triple layers of trauma of understanding that this is what's going on, being aware of it, and just now being allowed to speak freely about it and that it's a true thing, and then watching all the people who don't look like you steal it and make money, and be like, what the, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why do you? And we're still struggling. Like, I'm mad. Don't want to send you or me $15,000 to open the fucking dungeon. I know it's been 3 weeks, but I know someone has heard my message that's heard it. Like,
trust. I have a business plan. Like y'all got it twisted. Here's something else I just want to be clear about. And this is why you and I automatically, within 5 minutes of meeting each other, we're like, yes, we're on the same page, we're talking, we're keeping in touch, and we were like instant friends. It's like, y'all got it twisted. We are used to building our own. So let me be real about this. If y'all think that we're just coming up, let me just tell you, it has been 2 years. I have had a business plan for 2 years for not only a Black wellness space in Austin, which doesn't exist. No Black-owned wellness space, yoga space, anything exists in the city of Austin, but also to double as a community space for the Kink community is all the things that we need from a space in the Kink community. I also need in my wellness space. I need hardcore. I need large rooms. I need all of these, like I need photo spaces. I need all of that. So I have found these different, I put together a business plan to be able to use a space in a multitude of ways. This presents itself to be able to make money around the clock, unlike a lot of other spaces that exist right now. I am just too broke to do it. And I'm out here looking at everybody and all these people who are like renting out these spaces and putting on these conferences and doing all the asking for no money and just like all these things. And I'm just like, y'all want this. Put your money where your mouth is.
You want a POC friendly. How do we get more POCs? How do we get more POCs? I know give your dungeon owner person. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, like conventions, dungeon owners, group owners, I've not seen enough white people step down.
It's sad.
That was in my first doing better video. Was I was like, the change will happen when you step down and say, this is the new person. But they won't do that because they don't, just like in Vanilla, they don't want to lose their power. I don't know what you want. If that's why you don't want to step down, I'm not sure why you're in leadership in the first place. Leadership in the kink community is kind of a selfless job. And yes, we are trying to make it so we get more benefits and paid or whatever else. But the point of it is you are there for the community. Mm-hmm. You're not there for you. It's not so that you can get more rope bottoms. It's not so that when you come in, you get to hold court in your space. It's not so that you get to say, you can't come in this space and you can't. You can run over, you can't. None of those roles are actually in leadership. Your job is to listen to your community and provide for them.
Yes. Yeah.
Like listen and provide for them. That's why I constantly like, tell me an educator that you want to bring. Tell me this. If you don't, then I'm going to try to observe what the community needs. But I feel like our leaders have to do what they need for them and their growth experience. And to be honest, unless your needs fall in line with their needs, they're not really going to help you about it because they don't really care about your experience. So if people are wondering how you can change the situation going on right now, number one, stop reaching out to us to come to educate. Go back to your business paperwork. Find someone who's like, hey, the next 2 months, I'm going to mentor you on how to run this, and then I'm stepping down. Because you failed. Okay? In no other business, corporation, industry can we, I mean, I'm the same, I'm filming this still with like NFL, Roger Goodell, like you need to give it to a black person, like you have to step down.
Yeah.
If you fuck up a business that big, that's the whole point of being CEO, or the whole point of being leadership, is that you have to take ownership for the successes and real genuine good leadership has to take ownership for the failures and credit to everyone else for the successes. Okay? So if you fail multiple times, which clearly you have by the stories that are coming out, I'm talking about all leadership, why should we believe you that anything would change if you still lead it?
Yeah.
Why should we trust
actually that we're implementing at a structural level?
Yeah.
And not just somewhere in the middle gray area. We're just not going to talk about like actively anti-racist.
Yeah. I know you've been busy, so I'm not going to assume that you've seen the shit ton of content that I put out. But one of the things I did put out was a call out to kinky, rope, and sex educators for Black POCs and POCs. So I can make kind of a database because, again, unfortunately, there's like maybe 15 of us that are really well known, and they are getting asked a lot when I'm like, literally, there's a list of tons of other people, and also people who have been failed to be given opportunities. You know, a lot of these people on the list have stories of being rejected over and over again, or having to create their own group to teach. And you know, this is something we ran into even with the Q event about people looking at the lineup, seeing all 10% of people and being like, oh, there's nothing I can learn there. Okay, did your mama not teach you nothing? Apparently not. Like, what? You can't learn anything from a woman? You never have a Black teacher in your life that taught you something? And I want to say this, and then also take responsibility for my own biases. Like, this stuff is ingrained in us too. I have had to check myself on YouTube in the last couple of years and been like, okay, when I search a topic, whose video am I picking and why?
Yeah.
Am I picking that white nerdy guy because I assume he does know everything about fucking Marvel, and the Black guy doesn't? Like, you know, when I go, like, why am I making those assumptions, right? And you know, that's really prevalent on YouTube by the fact that, like, you know, female Black channels are really only big if they're talking about hair and makeup and beauty. And it's like, if we're talking about anything substantial, intellectual, like something where other people can learn that don't have 4C hair, you know what I'm saying? It's like, we're not valid, or you can't learn from us. Like,
which is
is a whole other issue of like, I don't understand that. Talking about in the community. Yes, white male riggers and white male riggers. Shakti can teach you something about rope that you don't know.
I mean, but that's the fact that they don't think that is, well, couple of things with that is that one, people always asking what they should do and being like, but we have these POC spaces and I'm offering scholarships and I want people to come to my event. Something that I would keep saying it till the day I die. Sometimes Black people don't want to learn from you. Like
That's true
that's
too.
the reality. It's like
Yeah.
it's not a prize for us to get into the white space because you're offering us a scholarship spot to like sit in your white class. Like sometimes they
Thank you for saying that.
don't in your white ass space to be able to get. It's not a gift for me to have to be in there and absorb every microaggression while I'm the only black person in the room because I'm the charity spot so that you could feel inclusive. Like that's not actually.
Sorry, just I gotta take a breath on that one. Like, decolonize King about to fall off the couch here with that one because like that is so like it's a whole nother level where I'm like, this looks so good PR wise, but again, it's and I've had this conversation in my community. We don't want to feel like you're going, oh, you poor black person.
Yeah.
Here, let me give you a little piece of the power. Here's a little piece so you feel better. And it's like, no, that's not what we're asking for, actually. And I think people sometimes get confused with that, where it's like, we're not asking for you to give us some scraps from the table. We want a seat at the table and a setting. At least the same percentage in which we represent society, actually more since we built most of society. Like that's the other thing people forget is like, we're not trying to do the opposite. We're not trying to oppress the other side. But do I think there's going to be some stuff that you are going to have to give up? Yes, some stuff is owed.
It takes sacrifice.
Yes, and it's owed because you've already benefited from it. Yes, like that was now. Yes, you've been benefiting from it generationally for years. So unfortunately, yes, you have to make consequences now to be mad at your grandparents. I don't know. Yeah. But like that's what it is. People are like reparations, but that's not. You don't even know if your parents really. It doesn't matter, actually. I've still been affected by their slavery today.
I'm still a black person. I'm still a black person in America today, and that's a whole other. It's in the landscape. Also, what I want to say is, as we might not want to learn in your spaces, but also when we are in your spaces, we get to come as ourselves. Period, and that's not something. So when you said before. There are tons of people who haven't been awarded opportunities. Let me be clear about something. I hope everybody cleans out their ears and hears this crystal clear. The only reason, and I will say the only reason, not my talent, not because I'm so great, that I have been awarded so many opportunities is because I am a black woman who was raised most of her life in white suburbia, and I have made an actual craft out of assimilating. Like I can assimilate like a bad bitch. I can get up in here and I can, like, what do you want me to do? You want me to speak in a way that makes you feel comfortable? Do you need me to soften the emotions and the tones so that I can translate something to you that makes you feel a little less on guard? Like I can assimilate in 5 seconds. I can be a chameleon. I will go into your space, and guess what? I shouldn't have to do that. Period. I shouldn't have to assimilate to be. Yeah, that assimilation skill, and I is right in with the code switching, where I shouldn't have to code switch and assimilate in order to be expected in these spaces. But I know how to do it. And I also have been granted the elitist education that my parents worked tooth and nail to try to give me a chance. But it's to clear the pathway because not everybody is going to look like me, act like me, speak like me, educate like me, write curriculum like me. And that doesn't mean that they're lesser than, that their education's different. And like that, we should not have to assimilate. And asking people to do that, and me being the black girl who just so happens to be the most, cultured in a way where I can make you feel comfortable, does not mean that I should be the only black one on this team who's out here trying to educate people and doing all of this work. Like, don't expect black people to act like you, look like you. We have a completely different culture. Y'all should know because people are taking it every day. And so
you're being really loud, Shakti. You're being really loud.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, exactly. I'm being super, super loud. And that's another thing is that I've heard from black people specifically that they don't like going into white dungeons for that reason. Is like feeling like they're going to keep too loud, talk too loud, express too loud, that they're going to be judged, that people are going to watch them, that people are going to. It's just this understanding, like not everyone is going to look and act like you, and the fact that there is this basis of whiteness, which I feel like you have been judged against since I've known you in the Dallas community. This basis of whiteness. It's not about how safe anything is. It's not about trying to help you, garner, an audience and actually like get the attention that you deserve in this world with all the education and all the work you've been doing, all the heavy lifting you've been doing. But that people were measuring you against this scale of whiteness of, is your rope like ours? Do I think you're doing it right? And I think that once again, like, goes right back into the idea that white people, specifically white men, have a perfect talent of learning something, taking ownership of it, and then policing it and being like, you better do it like me or else it's wrong. And that's what I feel like you have been held against this entire time.
Which is frustrating because I actually don't want to do it like you. And like I have had to in certain spaces so that I'm not judged because I want to do it a different way. And if I do it a different way, it's not like they say, oh, that's not the way to do it. They say you're unsafe. There are, I guarantee you there are tons of people, probably tens of people, 30, 40 people who I started wondering 6 to 8 months ago in the community. When I go out into spaces, I lead a rope group. No one asks to tie with me. People will see me tie. They see me tie white people, so it's not like I only tie black people and they feel that way. They will see me tie. They will see a white man with less experience do something less amazing than I fucking did and go ask me to tie. Now, I don't think that's just because I'm black. I know that people in my community have said, do not tie with her. She's not safe. That's insane. Because I've never said, don't tie with those people. They're racist. I've never, you know what I'm saying? I've never actually used, this is the first time I've actually used any information I have to affect anyone else in our fucking community. Because again, someone said gaslighting, was gaslighted that this was a problem. For a long time, I'm like, this is just a personality because, like I'm hard to work with and I'm hard to deal with and that's been my whole life. And then I had to wake up where I'm like, actually, no, the fuck I'm not. I know everyone is, I'm not. Actually, you just don't like working with me. One, because I do the job better than you and I'm not in your position and it makes your ego hurt. Okay? Number two, you don't like that someone that looks like me could possibly do as good of a job that you can do. And from your own mouth, you say, I will never be as good. I will never do anything good enough. So you self-fulfilling prophecy because you were going to make sure that didn't happen. But yeah, that's frustrating to me to look around and have thought it was something that I did wrong. Even though I know the hours of education I've done, I know that I've never seriously injured anyone. I've never injured anyone in my rope, to be honest. I've got a better record than a lot of people talking shit. But people won't ask to come by it. But then on the other side, the being compared to white on a white standard, right? What you were talking about earlier. Sorry, I'm not. I wish we could look around and see. You're right. The black people that are accepted into those groups as their token black people. How many of them did have white parents or were raised in white areas with that privilege? So you aren't really going out of your comfort zone because not only are you only picking the people who have already had a huge amount of privilege to be able to associate with you, but like I can't, other people that are like us that maybe didn't have that privilege, you aren't going to accept. They're not going to feel comfortable. They don't want to come to your spaces. And it's not necessarily that we feel comfortable. You know what I'm saying? We just know how to make you feel comfortable
100%.
In that space, right? It's not to say that but that's the only option we have, right? And I mean, I got to assimilate so much that I forgot that I was assimilating. Mm-hmm. That I forgot that there was other culture that I enjoyed or that I connected with, right? And which has caused some lonely times in my life because I don't have black people around me to relate with. But that standard of only accepting the black people that again can assimilate to what we think is or what they have made the standard to be professional or appropriate for public is upsetting and traumatic, and that's part of some of the work I'm having to process personally, right? Because also, how many times have I maybe made other Black people feel uncomfortable because I'm so assimilated?
For sure.
That's upsetting.
My whole life, yeah.
Yeah, that I've been in those places. Because I've also felt, the other side of that, going into Black places and being outed as not Black enough.
Mm-hmm.
The first place I worked at when I moved to Texas, my nickname it was Red Lobster, and my nickname was Whitewash. And not only almost every Black person there called me that, the white lesbian GM called me Whitewash because she grew up in the hood and was like, "Why do you talk like that? Why do you act like that?" I had a group of Black women one time I was serving for Mother's Day. I'm from the West Coast, okay? On the West Coast, we say you guys like we say y'all here.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to the table, how you guys doing? Like, I'm in my perfect customer service voice. And they just all looked at me and like, oh, you're not from around here. And they asked for another server because they were so insulted. So like, yeah, I'm out here doing the overall work for all of us, but like, Black people, we kind of got our own issues that we also need to deal with in the community that also help perpetuate some of these other issues.
Oh yeah.
So, we were talking about like Black men and dating, and I think I was talking about this the other night that I had explained to people race play in my view, right? I was like, look, white men are at the top of the food chain. And you don't know how many people get really upset when I say that. Especially white men get really upset. And it's like, it's okay to admit that you are at the top of the food chain. And by top of the food chain, I mean like power, status, like privilege. It's above every Black women, the women, white women, the other men. It's at the top. So when I would explain race play, I'm like, bro, this is like me getting to be the number 2 to the top of the privilege, which I've always at the bottom. So like in that play, that's where I'm like, yes, in this play, I may be, the slave in this role play, but I'm the best one, I'm the house one, I'm at the top of the food chain.
I'm the best one
I've ever been, right? And like people are like, oh my gosh, it's so messed up. How do you think that? And I'm like, this is a class system y'all created.
Yeah.
I think that because you created a system where not only Black women, but when they date these people, they do this certain thing that we have made it. We have arrived. We have come up from the depths of the darkness and arisen to the light. And like it's so crazy to think that. I'm like, no, I mean, number one, it conflicts with my inner being, which says, no, I'm at the top, and you are blessed to be here. Like my inner dog is like, everyone is so confused. But like, it's like that, those kind of things that I know we deal with in our own community. Someone brought up gang violence in a comment, and I'm like, we just watched the Behind the Bastards podcast about we listened to about the Black Panthers, and by the way, gangs were started by racist white people in the government. There you go. So if you're like, I don't understand why they're not talking about black on black violence. Yeah. Black on black violence and gangs were created so that we would continue to fight and kill each other and not get together and organize and realize, oh, the real oppressor is you.
Yeah.
That's why they were created. So some of the things people are complaining about, I'm like, it's upsetting, but I also know you don't know your history and you don't know what you're talking about. But like, they were created to keep this system perpetuated.
Absolutely.
This idea and concept of making it when you get to white society was perpetuated by white society, so they don't have to actually we were talking about segregation the other day and how it was a good thing and it was underlining the thing that they wanted to do for other reasons, which is a lot of movements in the country. If you really go look up. Even the women's movement. Like the women's movement was underground created by people, financially supported by people to destroy families in the household so that the government starts teaching
nuclear family,
right? And like I mean, number one, highly suggest that people go watch that 2-part series on Behind the Bastards about the Black Panthers, because one, it lets you know that like, well, it angers me that like I grew up thinking, oh yeah, the Black Panthers were violent and Martin Luther King was peaceful, and like the Black Panthers like weren't violent.
Yeah.
Most of the violence was caused by the FBI, the government. And like, if they hadn't done that, maybe Black Panthers had made a lot of progress. I mean, the statistics of like how many kids the Black Panthers fed, how much medicine they got to our community.
They passed out funds like all the time. They passed out funds
not just to Black people.
Oh,
not just to Black people. We're still on.
It's because
YouTube, right?
yes, we ran out of time on IG, and I didn't even notice because I was so into what we were talking about. So I'm actually trying to just upload it onto IGTV before my phone glitches, and I don't want to like lose it. So we're gonna keep going here. People know to catch us on Facebook. That's why I say it at the beginning. I also had your link tagged in the bottom. So
yes, I saw that. Thank you. What was I
basically how the FBI basically
the
Black Panthers.
Yeah.
And because they did that, there's so much social upheaval that it allowed the vacuum for gangs to come out and to exist.
For gangs to exist and to continue the violence that was created by the FBI in the first place. So some of the things that people have said that are like, you know, well, this is the problem. I'm like, no, actually, that is actually just another consequence of the main problem, which is this racism that was created. And then too, when we were talking about segregation, like, yes, segregation was great. It's almost like what we're talking about doing something publicly. It was great publicly, but when they segregated us, they also stole all our ownership. So before we were segregated in our communities, we went to a store. When we were segregated, we went to Black grocery stores, schools. They were up, and the basically said, all right, the white, we'll unsegregate them. Yes, unsegregate them. But when we do that, we're going to take away everything they own.
Yeah.
So it's still slavery, right? So now, like, we watched Killer Mike's one of Killer Mike's episodes where he tried to live for like.
Yeah, no, I've seen that.
He ended up sleeping on a park bench.
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, like, and like, so even programs and procedures and things that are policies that have been created with underlining text to still keep us oppressed.
Yep.
And so when people are like, well, why do you deserve reparations now? Well, because you guys still stole this. You guys are still stealing. You're still stealing the culture. You're still stealing all the stuff, and we need to get paid back for that. That's why we all still struggling. That's why you see things like Black people don't sell tickets, or Black people don't spend money. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, dungeon owners are like, well, if you play too much hip hop, Black people come and they don't spend any money. Like, that's just that's just number one, not true. Because then let's list how many business like industries or billion-dollar industries that Black people support. But we, again, this macro level, like, we need to own a piece of the pie. We got to get to the table. And then again, on the kink level, it's the same thing. You cannot tell me any change is going to happen with any group until there's representation in decision-making leadership. Mm-hmm. And that's just like, that's the standard that I have right now. And I think that, again, I just want to emphasize the privilege of being able to continue on with the way your life was going before 3 weeks ago.
Absolutely.
Right? Whether you have an event going on, whether you're playing, whether you're running your group, what a privilege, because like we can't do anything right now with like, we try to have an escape, we go to a movie or try to do something, we're gonna be reminded somehow. Like I said, I like couldn't even do my rope scene without subconsciously being like, oh well, it's a good song, but they stole this music from us, you know? So like we don't get that pleasure.
Yeah, we don't get the reprieve.
Yeah. And so like, just like, you know, in the military, when your soldiers are tired, you bring in reinforcements.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we got reinforcements that aren't brown, and it's time. We're tired. We're sitting there. We're starving. We don't got any bullets left, and we're waiting and looking out when the boat's gonna come with reinforcements.
Yeah.
So we can like take a break, and then we'll come back and help you again once we see that you're like down for the cause long term, and not just for like this publicity stuff. I may have been rambling there, but
no, I think that's so, I think it's so valid, because it once again comes back to, and I plan on doing a larger conversation around this, because I brought it up a couple of times recently in some of these discussions, but it comes back to the fact that this cancellation bullshit is performative, and that's not what we're talking about here. So like, and the reason why I want to make that a larger conversation for later is only because like, in the past, when this stuff has come up with consent violations, people have misunderstood my view and been like, oh, I guess you just don't care about people's feelings. You don't care about, you know, like victims and like, fuck you and all this stuff. And I'm just kind of like, no, what I'm saying is you're not really helping anybody by just like pretending like this problem is isolated to this one person and then like kicking them out of your group and pretending like you're never going to harbor another person who's doing fucked up shit again, instead of actually implementing some serious strategy around how we educate, how we conduct these spaces, and initiating actual healing by centering people. And having accountability drawn to. And the same thing happens with a lot of this stuff. And that's why I'm saying that pay attention to the riggers, pay attention to the people that you see that are not saying anything about this. Like, to the people who are allowed to keep living their regular life, like it doesn't matter. Just pay attention to those people, and you can really, really see those who have the privilege and those who really just don't want to extend themselves because they might think it's too much work, or they just don't want to engage in it.
Yeah, I'm thinking of all these people spend millions of dollars every year to go. Well, they did before theaters got shut down because of COVID. But anyway, they watch these films, and the main characters are about being courageous and standing up to usually an institution or the man or some entity which is causing oppression out of themselves, the families, the community. And these few individuals stand up and fight, and people are inspired by that. And my thing is, okay, white people, you have this group of people who are doing just that. You should be inspired by them, see the struggle they're going through, knowing that the institution that's oppressing you as well is oppressing them, and they're standing for it. And as white people, we need to do the same thing. Be inspired by these epic heroes we've always worshipped our whole lives, and stand up, and become great people, and live your life as an epic movie.
I mean, wow. Be a hero and support the heroes. Yeah, no, I think that is that was a good analogy.
Be a hero and support the heroes.
Yeah. And then on the note about consent violations, again, it's one of those things where like I've stayed quiet because I came into a community that already existed, and many people were like, this is what it is. There's no better, right? Like but that's what it is. Oh, well, that's a great idea, but like that will never happen. We can't ever get it, right? And my question is, so we're very reactive about consent violations, but we're not very proactive. And by proactive, I mean, requiring some sort of review education, like just some sort of something. It doesn't have to be extensive. I have a few ideas of what I would implement in my own place that sets a standard for what we expect in this space.
Yep.
Since we can't have it nationally, it's not a national thing in that space. And so when those things are broken, it's very easy to be like, no, remember, these were the rules. That's where you signed. This is, and based on our public policy, this is a level 1 incident, which means you get a warning, And then, you know what I'm saying? And then when the other thing I would like to see is when a consent violation happens, either, on minor or on a bigger level, and we're dealing with it, where is the restorative program for the victim?
Mm-hmm.
We talk a lot about restorative justice for the abuser publicly, and sometimes we don't even do that, to be honest, because sometimes that's a controversy. But I don't see recovery programs for victims, because in vanilla world, if we see one of our friends date 3 abusers back to back to back, and I've been in the situation, my friends come to me, all 3 boyfriends, I don't know what to do, he's such a horrible person, and I'm like, well, he's abusing you. And by the 3rd boyfriend, we're gonna be like, bitch, why are you in therapy? Why aren't you in therapy? This is the 3rd abuser you've attracted? You had back-to-back 3 abusive boyfriends?
But people will go through 3 abusive rigors like it's nobody's business.
I'm not saying that this is not victim blaming. It's not what I'm doing. You are never there's no excuse for abuse.
Mm-hmm.
But there is some responsibility to recover and recover your agency and who you are after that. So victims also should take a break from time, from interacting. When you're an abuser and a victim, you need to take a pause, and there's self-reflection that needs to be done, and there's healing that needs to be done. And I don't see in our community the encouragement for healing with victims through actually structured programs. A lot of times we just trust the friends around them to help them with the healing they need. And the healing they need needs to come from professionals, which we are not in that area. And there are a lot of leaders dealing with serious consent violations or serious, he said, she said, that you're not qualified.
Yep.
If some of the consent violations that have been brought, that were brought, and I was in leadership, were brought to my attention, I would immediately say, you guys need to go to a therapist, or, unfortunately at this point in time, I can't say talk to the police, but maybe talk to, whatever we replace the police with, which is, a mediator. But I am not qualified to help you with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're doing the community an ethical disservice by not admitting when we don't have the skills to solve the problem. And we need to get professionals in here. Every dungeon space should have a kinky person who is also a mental health professional, who is possibly even paid on retainer to work on those issues when they come up. Because I will admit, even in my, home couch, trying to teach myself about psychology, because I don't have the finances to actually go to school, there's plenty of stuff that I'm going to be like, but this is not anything that other than a professional should talk to you about. I also want to bring up, if we've had this many, I've had, again, many private messages I haven't been able to share, the amount of consent violations that have been reported and nothing has been done about from white girls.
Mm-hmm.
How many black girls? How many their consent has been violated, they've been raped, they've been whatever has happened, and they didn't even make a report because they knew no one was going to believe.
They just knew, because we just know. We're like, and we don't want to have to fight the battle of having you believe it. And however much you think that you have to climb uphill to get that to happen, it is there's 10 times more shit and hill for black women to go through. Absolutely.
And and then, here's another controversial topic we haven't talked about. How many black men have maybe had a small miscommunication incident that has been turned into a giant thing that wouldn't be a giant thing if they were a pretty white boy?
Mm-hmm.
That's fucked up too. Again, we get one opportunity to fuck up where white people get 10.
Mm-hmm.
There's people that are watching probably some of this content that are in leadership right now who know they have horrible consent violations, who know we're talking about them, and have not said or done anything, and also still have enough power that even as much as vocals are being right now, their accusers don't feel empowered enough to come out.
Exactly. And they know.
And so for every white girl that I know that I've talked to about a consent violation and spent emotional labor while they cried their tears of all of their pain, I know there's probably 5 more for every one white girl. There's probably 5 black girls that have had similar or worse experiences that we don't even know about, we may never know about, and that is even more infuriating. And so when people are like, want to somehow, I don't know how this is allowed to do this, but and I know in multiple communities, I've been getting stories all across the country, leadership who have chosen to ignore consent violators because this person sells tickets, or this person is their good friend, or this person is the friend of one of their partners. And it's much easier to just get rid of the person giving them, saying they're a consent violator than to get rid of them, at least for our image and our, and that's still happening right now. There's still those leaders in leadership right now. And that was one thing coming into the community that probably disgusted me the most, was that the people who have been outed since I've been in the community, when I've talked to other people about it, the immediate response was, well, we all knew that was going on. We all knew that was happening. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, if you all knew, you failed. Step the fuck down. There is in no way should someone come down from that high horse, from that many consent violations or abuse, and a bunch of leadership says, yeah, we knew that was going to happen. Mm-hmm. That's is that your job?
Yeah.
Like, how many incident report teams do we have in all these different communities? So like that bothers me. And then again, when you know that happens to that degree to white girls, you can just double it when it comes to black women. And that is infuriating as well. And then, then you get into like, if you do even bring it up, like, do you get believed? Because that was my big thing too with coming out with this, which is why I'm sure people are like, well, I don't want to read all this. It's a long 14 parts. Well, I had to put every motherfucking receipt in there so someone would believe you.
Thank you. Because if you had made a 1-part video of just being like, hey guys, I'm going to call out this huge ass thing that y'all all love and hold dear, people would have been side-eyeing it for a week before you could even get anyone to take it seriously and have a discussion about it. So it would have been a whole different thing.
And I know that because I've been told that in my own community, that like, oh, that's not the issue. Oh no, that's not what's really going on. And I'm like, but it seems like, but again, then I was in a situation where like, I'm the only one. So like, I don't have another person to be like, is this what's going on or am I crazy?
Which is a whole other thing, which is how they get away with the gaslighting, because they also don't have a lot to relate to one another in terms of our experiences, because we're all so usually just scared shitless of saying anything, or just don't like need to deal with the brunt of ruffling all of the feathers to the point where it's like, there is no like, am I crazy, or are we doing this? And a lot of the things that I've even spoken up about, and trust me, I've spoken up about maybe 5% of the rope world things that I have experienced. So however many of you watching this are just like, ooh, she never shuts up. Like, trust, you've heard literally this much of it. But it took me a lot of just like being with other people of color who were just like, hey, I just wanted to touch base on this one thing. And then I'm like, oh shit, I just wanted to make sure that wasn't just me. But yes, I've been feeling that for 2 years now. I just haven't talked to anybody about it whatsoever. And I mean, that goes from education to consent things to also just spaces in general. And I know that it's really, really hard for a lot of people to accept the fact that they have to give things up. I think that's a fragile space for white people, is that they think, like you said, it's not fair. And why do I have to give something up? And, the most popular thing that I hear, especially in the realm of the internet, is, well, none of you were slaves in this lifetime. And I don't understand why we need reparations. And and it's just this lack of understanding of how systematic and systemic all of this racism is, and how it exists and embeds in literally everything. And at this point in the rope world and in kink, I think that the one thing that we have to challenge people to do is to request more from leadership, request more from these people. Don't just be happy that you're going to one con because we're all super excited once this is over to get back together with each other. Like, challenge this leadership, challenge them to do what they need to do, challenge them to step away if you know that they've failed, if you've experienced their downfall. Like, And it sucks to have to give shit up. But trust me, like anytime we step forward and talk about anything, we are risking giving things up. Anytime I do one of these lives, I am risking that somebody is going to get their feelings hurt and be like, we're not inviting her back next year. We're not going to accept her teaching application. She made us mad because she stood up for herself, and we're never going to call her again, which has already happened to me. And I've been in this realm for less than 5 years. So, I mean, it's like you said, we have nothing to lose. I have nothing to lose at this point. I'm like, oh, exclude me. I mean, I already feel excluded and have all spaces anyway. So like, whatever. But at the end of the day, I just think it's important that people understand that it's going to come at the challenge of the masses, of people just telling these people this is not acceptable. And even these comments that we were talking about on FetLife earlier, like challenging these people of being like, this is not acceptable. Are you really, just because somebody is coming to your defense, you're going to allow people to blatantly tell like people like fuck Black Lives Matter and like, you know, this movement is bullshit, and you're going to allow people to talk like that? Like, okay, well then I see you. That's all.
Yeah, again, it's a comparative thing. If you had, and I'm going to make this a very specific scenario, but if you had a 24-year-old white girl on FetLife that had posted something in your group, and then a bunch of men were like, oh, I want to do this and this and this, and I don't care if you consent, and I just want to slap you like this, blah 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 blah. I guarantee you, some leaders would go delete those messages or say that's not appropriate and block them from the group. Nothing. The only people that have gone and defended any of those comments are people who heard me talk about them on Instagram and said, oh, we need to go. And they're not part of BED. They don't even live in Dallas. So like, Amanda Seales did a little bit on her page. This was actually, I think, like right in the beginning of this stuff happening. And it was like a little song that she made to Justin Timberlake that said, turn on your comments. She's like, let them talk to you. You need to know who's been following you.
Yep.
You need to know who shows up to your spaces, so you know why we don't.
Yeah.
It's not just you. You make other people like you feel comfortable. And they show up your spaces, and then we don't. And
absolutely.
I want people to also challenge themselves to think about, you have failed so hard that there are Black people who haven't even gotten in your door yet to be rejected, for you to make them feel like they're not feel accepted, because they already know, oh, it's going to be majority white people there. I'm not going to be comfortable. I'm not. So we haven't even gotten a chance to give them a first impression, because they're already making those assumptions, because that's what vanilla world is like. So yeah, you already have to kind of fight against those things. Oh, there was something else I was going to say about what she said, and I totally just forgot. Anyways, it'll come back to me. But continue on what you're saying. Totally.
No, I mean, I think that it draws me back to not only your organization, which I know we've talked about a couple of times, and I have scrolling across the bottom here. But when it talks about implementing actual change, and the fact that this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. This is going to be long lasting. Like I said, see you in 6 months of who's still giving a shit about this, and we'll see what's actually happening. But the myth that Black people aren't kinky, bullshit. And the myth that they aren't interested in rope, also bullshit. They don't want to be in your spaces, and you should really be trying to figure out why. Even when you do offer them a free space, some of them still don't want to be in your spaces. So it's really about asking yourself why. And then if you're looking to actually create substantial help, once again, it is about redistribution of wealth. It is about making sure that there are access to funds, because of how systemic all of these issues are, and the fact that that has kept funds out of the hands of Black people specifically, and out of people of color in general, but specifically Black people. And so, yes, donate down below. If you have any other words about Kinky ASF right now, I would love to just implement that into this moment.
The point of KASF was again trying to help people directly, and also give people a source, not only a resource, but also a place where they can donate in the community that is for the cause, but not necessarily politically driven, right? We're not like with any affiliate, we're for all Black Lives Matter. Like we're for that. That's what we're doing right now. And I kept it generic to activism, because I'm assuming there's other activism we're going to have to do in the future. It may not always be this message. There may be new messages. And so, but right now it's we're working we're going to be working on this message right now. And the funds are to help people who are protesting, and then that's how it started out. And then we've branched out to Black POCs in the community, and also people who are trying to grow platforms. So if you're trying to be a photographer or a model or an influencer within the Kink community, an educator, and there's things that you need, go to that site, go on the front page, it says, I think it says get funds, and there's an application. Hit the other button, tell us your story. Sometimes it's like a camera lens. Maybe you need a video card to start streaming. Maybe you need to just rent a studio for a day so you can shoot something. Like, send us what you need and we'll help you how we can. Because we want to be able to help the activists in our community that are out there doing the work. But we also, again, don't want this. This isn't a temporary nonprofit. We want this nonprofit. If there's not an activist movement, which great, that means the world's probably doing pretty well, then we want to continue to help those marginalized communities within our community. So I've created some resources on there for people, some connections. If you are a health professional that is kinky, I'm trying to get more of those people in the US on our list. So we've got one now, and I'm trying to get approval from a few others to share their information. But if you are, whether you're offering free services or not, if you are one, that's something that's really crucial for mental health, is to have someone that you're talking to, if you're kinky, that is also understands the lifestyle. So we have some of those resources available. And then there's a page called the Ally Center, which is going to be where like the database for educators is going to be, for performers is going to be. Right now, the This is Black America photo campaign is on there. And then we'll also have some other resources for allies. Our next fundraiser is going to be coming Friday. It will be on YouTube on the MP Experience. You can go to the site. I'll have all the information if you want to call in and chat, or bring up a topic, tell your story. We'll go from 12 noon Central Standard Time to 12 at night. I just needed to do something, and I wanted it to be within our community, and this is what I came up with, and people have been donating like crazy. I'm so grateful, and we've been able to get funds out. I know we've been able to help with what you've got going on, and again, it stemmed from the initial question that I got asked, which is what is the community doing now? And they weren't doing anything. I mean, we're just now barely getting people to bring out statements, and no, you're late. Like, even if your statement was a week ago, you're late. Like, even if it was the day that George Floyd got murdered, you're still late. Yeah. Like, the reason why I'm upset is because I came into the Kink community and I thought this was a community that was supposed to live by better standards than everyday society. That's what was preached to me, and that's what I've tried to live by. And then to see the people who preach that to me, it's like seeing your pastor fucking twerking with hoes on the weekend on Saturday, but then want to preach on Sunday to you while you went to bed at a decent time on Saturday night. It's like, but wait, like, that's not. And so, like, I just like I've mentioned in my live stream, like, this is not new for me to be like a whistleblower about stuff. This is just the first time anyone's believed me. Yeah. To be honest, I've whistleblowed about stuff at many companies, like, hey, I know that that's not right. I saw that manager molesting that girl, blah, blah. Well, Posh, she's very difficult to work with, and she's a very angry Black woman. It's easier to get rid of her than to fire the managers who keep molesting people who work here. And so, like, I find myself in this position, similar, like we mentioned, I don't have anything to lose. What are you going to do? Take my rope experience away from me? You already did that. And I have partners to play with. So that's not going to, I have nothing to lose. And I also have been discouraged by putting content out and then feeling almost taunted. Like, okay, I gave a lot of the community multiple opportunities to be like, all right, we know she's talking about us. We're going to do better right now. We're going to make a statement right now. Because it was like 3 weeks ago that I put the first video out. Nothing. So then a week later, I did another video and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be a little more specific. Dallas, this community right here, people I know that are watching this, let's do better. Still nothing. And then after a few days, there was a unofficial response video that felt to me like, we don't believe you. You won't do it. We're too powerful, we're too big, and we're too intimidating, and you won't do it because you have too much to lose.
Yep.
Oh, well, you were mistaken because I don't have anything to lose.
I was about to say, try me.
And so, like, I've mentioned this in the video too, like, I'll keep this series going. I will keep sharing stories and keep talking about it. As long as I have to keep doing the emotional burden of reading and listening to these stories, I'm gonna keep putting them out publicly so that people can publicly hold you accountable. That's what I was gonna say earlier. The way to make sure to publicly hold these people accountable is to not spend your money with them. Like, when people are like, well, what does that mean? Okay, well, I won't support them or won't promote them. No, it means that if you decide to buy tickets to that event, you are, with your money, saying, I support their value system.
You're voting with their money, yeah.
Exactly. So, and money is not as directly power, but gives you a lot of power and freedom. So that's where I will see, as a whole of a community over these next few months, when events, big conventions start back up, if we really made any progress. Is, did the things that we're talking about stick with the whole of the community, and the white community, enough for them to say, no, I'm not spending my money there? Because if it doesn't, then nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
If white female riggers continue to shoot with, or not riggers, sorry, bottoms continue to shoot with white, cisgendered men who only shoot white girls, then nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
And I've also said, whereas some people will voluntarily come with the movement, some people will have to be shamed.
Yeah.
And so I encourage people to do it publicly. I encourage conventions, if you're making new policies and changes, I mean, we get to listen to the government's Zoom calls.
Yep.
So Zoom that bitch up.
Let us know.
I want to see it live. Where's your brainstorming session? Because I would like to hear too how many microaggressions come up in your brainstorming session of how we're going to solve this problem. I want to know how you're solving it. I want to know who's on your team. Who are these people? How long? What is their experience? What's their vanilla experience with dealing with this? Because you can't just pull any random Black person and be like, well, you're going to be our diversity team now. Because we don't even know some of our own shit.
And I think that also it's just understanding that in the work of anti-racism, white feelings are not going to be centered. So whatever you think needs to happen is probably not what's going to happen or what should happen. Your white feelings should not be in the center of how we are going to try to fix this. And that's going to be really hard for a lot of people to detach from. And the people who are watching this right now on Facebook, or maybe the replay on YouTube or whatever, that are in the rope community, have conversations about this live and just see how people see the people's tones of how they respond to if they watch this or not, and just see what comes out of their mouth, and how you can see the perspective of never being believed, never being held to the same standards, just as a result of bringing up this live as a conversation.
Test your audience.
Test
your audience. If you do weekly live streams of your rope performances, 1 week, don't tell anyone, come on live and just talk about this issue, and then watch all the people leave. And get an idea of who the fuck follows you. Because one thing I've also said in the rope community is that a lot of the riggers who do get educating opportunities, because they will sell tickets because they have huge Instagram followings, are people following you because they love your rope, or because you only tie half-naked white girls?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, your ego is being inflated by the fact that people like to see girls naked, whether they're in rope or not. And rope is an extra fetish. And so you're sitting there like, whoo, I am the shit. And it's no, your bottom has an amazing body and people are horny. And this is on Instagram, which is public.
Yeah.
So I just I question, number one, I'm not sure how even in the rope community you can build any ego off of an Instagram following, because that's not kink specific. So again, you have a lot of vanilla people who don't give a fuck about your rope.
They
don't
just
want
want
to
it out. Yeah.
They just want to see the bottoms with their legs spread open.
Yeah.
And that's the shit that gets reposted and reposted and reposted
Yeah.
and reposted. And that's what everyone thinks the rope community is.
Yeah.
And that's one thing why the This Is a Black American campaign, the point of it was to tell people that we need to be on your timeline, your timeline permanent. So if someone scrolls through, they can be like, I mean, I hate to say this, but if they scroll through, they can be like, oh, at least in January they supported Black Lives Matters for 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah. Because I will be looking for everyone else to look for that as well. I will be looking for that. And that's why I'm saying, challenge these people, because plenty of them exist in Austin. I saw some of them pop in when we were on Instagram, and I'm like, ooh, welcome to the live, because I haven't seen you post anything about that you care about any of this. So welcome to the space. But I want y'all to bring that up to one another. Yeah.
Yeah. And then too, again, something I'm not sure if I mentioned this the other day, but so your timeline you want your timeline to have more color, right? Then you also need to do some of that work, right? So I made it a little bit easier by starting this campaign, and because we're in a pandemic, but that means photographers, you got to go out and find Black models to shoot with, right? That means white models, you need to look at your photographer's profile and their past work and say, this looks really pale. This looks really not diverse. I'm not going to shoot with you. So that they can actually see, oh, if I don't, again, public shame, if I don't get on this bandwagon, my life is going, my normal life is going to end. And they need to feel that for change, because clearly nothing else is going to make a lot of these people change until they see that your life will not be the same until you get on board. And it doesn't fuel the internal change we need, but it starts it. And that requires, so again, if you are a white female rope bottom and you're like, what can I do? What you can do is you can tell your partners, hey, are the people you tie with or that glorify you on platforms, I'm not shooting with you again. I encourage you to be like, I'm not shooting anything with you for the next 3 months. That's shooting Black content creators or finding Black content. Or go collaborate with these people. If you get content from them, I gave you content for free. That's not going to happen from most of us. So if you want content on your timeline, pay for it. Yeah. I would like to Venmo you $40 so I can use some of your images on my timeline, because we're in a pandemic and I can't collaborate with anyone right now. So there is no excuse to say, well, I don't really know anyone. Well, this content doesn't really fit my timeline. I guarantee you, if you reach out to some of those content creators, the Black content creators that are getting shared everywhere, and say, hey, will you do a photo shoot with my timeline aesthetic? And I'll pay you $100. They'll do it. They'll do it. So if you want stuff from us as Black people, we'll give it to you, but you have to pay for it now. Yeah, you got to pay for our time. You're not going to work for free. Yeah, we're not going to do it for free. We're not going to. It's not. You're not benefiting us by getting to say that we volunteer for your convention. That's like you mentioned before. That's a one-way beneficial situation, because oftentimes you're volunteering, even if you get a free ticket, you really don't get to enjoy the experience.
Exactly. There's a whole problem with that system. That system is so flawed. Yeah.
Yeah. So, when I first got into the community, I was like, oh, I would love to volunteer. It's a great opportunity to be able to get my ticket for free. And again, that's when your standards have been set so low, when really I should have been saying, no, actually, I should be able to go to this for free and maybe not have to also work 40 hours during the weekend to pay for the ticket, because most of the white people here got to do that. And so again, I say, if you're going to do scholarship programs, if you're going to do scholarship programs to an intensive, one scholarship to that intensive is not changed, made. Have that intensive, bring someone in, and have the scholarship program only be for Blacks and POCs, so that they go there and no matter who they're learning from, there's no white people there at all. Everyone feels comfortable, because I've been in a few intensives where I've been the only Black person there. And again, I'm okay because I'm comfortable in that space, but I'm a minority within the minority. And so like those are the kind of things where I'm like, I mean, at this point, we're like, I don't know, take a page from NASCAR.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's where we're at, that we're like, hey, so NASCAR's kind of got a good response. Maybe you should listen to them.
Take a page
because they've gone above and beyond most big corporations on what they were going to do without proactively in less amount of time than it's taken some kink conventions to get statements out.
Yep.
So I mean,
and also
whatever you
level. Go ahead.
Huh?
I was just saying helping people at a collaborative level, but go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, whatever, again, if you were in a brainstorm group with all white or white passing people on how to solve this problem, that's problem number one. But the next problem is, and the next solution is to not go look for Black people. The next solution is to say, all right, so who's stepping down?
Trust me, we're out here. You don't have to look for us, and you don't have to track us down. Yeah. And most of all, right now, you don't have to bother us, because right now we're all tired. Let me just tell you, we're all tired. And we've been fighting this fight for a very long time. So like right now, it's about who is giving something up, who's adjusting, who's changing. And I think it also goes to say that to be clear, in order for this platform to even exist, because I know you were like, hey, this is just the first time I've been believed. In order for this platform to exist, I want us all to recognize that someone had to die. For this to be a trend, someone had to be murdered. So like, let's just
not just some. I mean,
like
many
someones, but this one someone got you some universal attention, which created a platform where now everybody's like, ooh, I guess this is a big deal. And then now people are starting to actually listen. But I also just want it's something that really struck me about when you offered me assistance through KASF, that really struck me is please don't just support Black people who are offering education. And once again, you know, starting with this belief of like, you have to bring something to the table in order to be worthy. Because I think that it was very profound to me that you recognized all the work that I was doing, and you recognized my foundation that I had also started on the vanilla side for like supporting Black mothers specifically and Black birthing people. And you were wanting to contribute to that, but also wanting to contribute to me as a human being, and was like, oh, hey, you're also just a human who's freaking tired and doing a lot of work. So like, this is also not just for your work. Here's something for you. And that like really struck me. And I also have just like kept that going as well with the people that I have been giving to and helping with, because it also just, it's an overwhelming cloud that hangs over us that we have to buy our worthiness, or we have to really buy our way into a room by offering something, or else we're not wanted.
Yeah. I mean, that's my whole life. It's like, oh, okay, there's a brick wall. It's okay. I'll be right back. Teach myself, learn something, go educate myself, get better. Okay, get through this wall. Shit, another brick wall. Okay, go teach myself, get better, be prettier, be skinnier, okay, get through this wall. Okay, now, and it's like, while I'm doing that, these white people done run laps around me on the same track, right? Where I'm like, oh wait, but like, how did you get to that position by that time? But oh, like you did nothing? Like you didn't have to go through any walls?
Just living the life. Yep, just living it.
And then at the same time, think about how good we'll probably be at some of those things if we had to struggle that hard to get some of those skills.
Yeah, I hear it a lot. People talk about let's empower the Black community, let's empower Black women. You don't need to empower them. They already have the power.
We're already pretty powerful.
You knock the walls and keep them.
You just need to move, actually. If you could move,
get out of the way. Get out of the way.
You can move. Then we could, and yeah, no, that's very true. And I've heard that language a lot. Again, like we mentioned before, where it's like, okay, well, we'll give you power. And it's like, no, we already have power. We just need to let you like see the light. Like we just need to plug in to the power that we have. And yeah, I think that, I mean, just on a superficial level, like put some flavor into your kink. You know, like when you're talking about like, if you're bored because you've been kinky for 30 years in your rope, if you add some Black people in there, I bet you they got ideas you ain't never thought of before.
Yeah.
So you're limiting your own kink experience, and not just your own. You're limiting everyone in the kinks community, and that's genuinely what burns my soul at the end of the day. It's, again, this isn't about me. I'm a kink whether I'm on this platform or not, or talking to people or not. But the amount of people that because finding kink has been so liberating and fulfilling in my life, the people, when I think about how many people we've detracted from being able to be their genuine 100% full self within this community, that breaks my heart more than anything, because that's a monumentous amount of people who I know how impactful under like finding out kink and finding myself and being introspective and getting to a place healthy enough to like take on responsibility in a dominant way for another human being, how much self-growth that's been that I wouldn't necessarily get in vanilla world. And you, by your own insecurities and ego and selfishness and racism and sexism and whatever else and need for power, you are limiting other people's lives. You are taking away from other people's lives. So it's not like what you're doing isn't hurting people. You are pro people, because you are not creating a space in which they can come be themselves and live that fulfilled life that we all are trying to do within kink, that the vanilla society does not let us do. And by gatekeeping, by not creating safe spaces, or I don't like even using that word anymore, but not creating spaces we feel comfortable in, you are proactively hurting people's like entire lives. You may have kept lifelong partners away from each other because they can't meet each other because you won't create a space where they both feel comfortable. Yeah. What? I don't want to be responsible for that. I don't ever want to be someone responsible for someone not being able to live their fullest life. And that guilt should weigh on you way more than your white guilt.
For sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Ooh, yes. And I also have CashApp floating down there for people who to throw those. I've just been alternating between all of the ways to give money, and to give time and space. And one thing I do want to be sure to mention before we kind of close out is, and this is more of like a personal thing of things that I've said on this live, who I do want to hear from is the Black community, especially the Black Kinksters, because most of them I talk to are on Facebook. I don't really get on FetLife much anymore because from my perspective, it's a dumpster fire. So most of the Black community that I speak to that I know aren't going to rope spaces, that I hear their experiences and their opinions and their perspectives, are from Facebook, are in these Facebook groups. Some of you might be watching this on my Facebook now. I want to hear from y'all. Like, that's who I have time for all the time. I want to hear from y'all about, because that's what I've been doing. And that's how I really, really like figured this problem out. Because when I did enter the rope world and I was like, where is everybody? And then I come back to these other kink spaces and I'm like, yeah, I'm a rope person. Like, why aren't y'all ever at the rope stuff? And then they tell me why. And I'm just like, oh, the rope people are just pretending that this doesn't happen. Like, they're just pretending that these people don't exist. So I want to hear about how we can really rebuild this space. And I also just want to hear perspectives and stories and hold space for that. And I always love getting on here with you because it's an effortless conversation that could go on for like 4.5 hours at a minimum. Like, I feel like we could do the entire 12-hour like KSF thing alone. We could just like be like yelling at each other enthusiastically for 12 hours and people will hopefully just like send money. That's what I love about talking to you, because I just feel like despite the fact that we have different experiences in life, it just shows that the experiences as Black women always come together in an effortless way. And that like, I just feel like I love that we both get to ping pong off of each other's lives all the time. And of course, this is the first, because you are someone who's influenced me to get this off the ground and to keep going with it. And it's for sure not going to be the last. And I would love to also do anything in the future for KASF, because I have been waiting for a fund like that to exist. And I have to be honest that I did not have the will or the strength to do it in the kink world. But I was like so happy when I saw you doing it. I was like, yes, you brought it through. It's so needed. And I can only imagine all the amazing possibilities that come in that are coming in the future as a result of this space that you've created.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited too, because I want to be able to get these funds out, and I want to mention that too. Again, even if you're not like making content, like I mentioned before, if you're a Black POC kinkster and you just struggling, maybe COVID, you lost your job, you need to pay this next bill, that fund is for that as well. We will probably, again, you will see things update, but there is an other button where you can, and then you can tell your story. That's decided upon by stories, and pretty much anything that gets brought in right now, we're giving money out. So it's not like you're gonna get declined unless like the funds are empty, and then we'll have another fundraiser. So and I don't think this need will ever necessarily go away, because you know, even if we again revolutionarily solve this problem and don't have to, you know, do that anymore, people are still going to need funds to go to some of these events, because we also want to be able to pay the people at the event. So it's that kind of like in between where it's like, we want accessibility, but also those people that are there need to get compensated. So we need to prioritize and budget better. And I think you can do that. I'm an event planner, like you can do that. I've heard other conventions be like, well, no one buys tickets if you don't have these big names, and then you have to have this certain price. And it's like, well, if you didn't spend $3,000 to bring them to Japan, then you have $3,000 to get more people here.
Yep.
So really it's just about being more creative. And again, if you branch out your leadership team, you're going to get more ideas. You're going to be more creative. You're going to come up with more entertaining and better spaces. And we can do better. Like I've enjoyed many spaces that are great, but we can do better. And the other thing I do want to shout out is that I did put a live out, and I've been getting tons of tags, so thank you. But if you are Black or POC, please reach out to me. I'm going to create a database and a list. I think what I'll probably be doing is getting all the names and then trying to get out to everyone, because I'd love to actually get your picture, bio. I want all your entire like resume on there, so that people so that they can use that even just to vet you, without having to like send you tons of messages and back and forth. They can be like, oh, okay, she teaches. Oh, that's the class I want to have her teach. And then next year, we're doing an all Black POC convention. When I get back in town next week, I'm gonna finalize like kind of try to find a date and where we're gonna do it at. But then in July, I'll be getting Q ready and then kind of launching that. And it will be however big or small we can do it. I've probably got about 30 to 35 names. If I can have all of them at the convention in a space, we'll figure it out. You know, we'll go 2 weekends if we have to. But I think that's going to be really a really important and influential event to just let people see what that looks like. And it's not only Black POCs attend. It's all the educators are going to be Black POCs, and then we'll be Black POCs. POCs in general, I still want those for like vendors and everything else like this. But for this specific event, we're going to keep it Black POCs for presenters and educators and performers. And then again, too, it will also show us who wants to show up. Because if we do this event and it's 90% Black and 10% white, those are not the statistics, obviously, of the percentages of the numbers in the kink community. So we'll know who's showing up and who's not.
Yeah, sure.
But I want to give these people a platform, because a lot of their stories have said, I've been trying to educate, but no one will let me. Yeah. I have been working on curriculums, but I see what other people deal with, and I don't want to deal with that.
That's what I hear, yes.
And that is incredibly discouraging. So let's try to give you a space. And I want to start this early too, so that if people have been thinking about educating and would like some coaching or mentorship or someone to help them make a curriculum, I can start partnering people up. If I don't have,
that's what I'm available for. Is I am available to help people that like need help with their curriculum, forming a class, how to deliver information, how much information can you schedule for a class length. Like that's my jam.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to everything that I am mentioning will be in probably within the next year will be in a more organized business formatted plan. It's all being worked on in the background, but like, yeah, things are moving very fast. But I want to be able to have coaching services for that as well, so that sometimes somebody has great information and maybe just needs a little coaching on how to present it. And that's another thing too. If you reject presenters but don't give them any feedback on how to get better, then we're not growing actually the community. So I want to give spaces for that. I host a broke group starting in August. I'm going to try to host as many Black and POCs for the rest of the year. So if you need to go try a class out, if you have anxiety, you get a little nervous in front of people, Zoom is great. You don't have, it's just you and your camera. You don't even have to have other people's screens on. It's a great run through. And I'm going to offer that available in my bank class where we have an audience that will come and listen to you. And it doesn't have to just be about rope, because rope and kink, like it all crosses over. But I want to give that opportunity over the next 4 or 5 months for people to be able to try out their content, or if they haven't got to teach before, teach there, and then you'll be ready for this convention next year, and just be looking out on all my social medias for that happening. And then obviously Q happens in July 25th. And
yes.
So yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all of your amazing perspective, your gifts, your work, your effort, your just all of the things with us as usual, which you consistently do, which is why I need people to come correct and send money to Madame Posh. And not just for the amazing work that she's doing, but also just for her as a human to keep herself uplifted and resourced as we continue doing this work, because it's a long-term, lifelong labor.
Oh, sorry. I wanted to add on there too. I don't know why I feel like I have to do this, but again, probably goes back to just needing to be believed about things. But like, this isn't like a new thing for me. I just want to emphasize this. I have been saying for like the last 5 or 6 years, I'm like, as soon as the next MLK or Malcolm X, like I'm quitting my job. I'm on the front lines, activism. And I just, none of the movements had the organization. They weren't. And this one, it was just like, okay, universe, you've put me, number one, supportively in a position where like if I go out and protest and get arrested, like I have resources, right? And so I need to take advantage of that. And like this is kind of like, I didn't know it was just gonna like happen so quickly, or like, you know what I'm saying? But like that's what I've been wanting to do anyways. And so I don't want people to think that like, well, maybe she's just getting on the bandwagon. And I'm like, no, you can go read through.
No Black person is getting on the bandwagon. We've been doing anti-racism work our whole life. And it's just like this whole, protesting activism. I feel like everyone's been doing their own sense of activism, which is also why I don't think it's white people's place to judge who's qualified to do anti-racism work, especially if they're a person of color, or specifically a Black person, which has happened to me in the vanilla world this week, of people just being like, well, what qualifications do you have? And I'm like, what? Excuse me? But like, I agree. And I also am just like in one of those spaces of like, this is not new for me either. And I'm happy that lately I've been grateful that people have been sharing so much of our causes, and people I know have been sharing even my vanilla cause on their kink Instagrams, which I'm totally okay with. But it has also just shed the light to people that I'm like, yes, I'm about this life, and this has been my job, and like what is I've been doing. And so I think it's just clear to say that yes, we've all been engaged in this work, and we are grateful for the fuel, but this is not new to us.
Yes. And yeah, just because you maybe just found us last week.
Yeah.
But I also want to do a little shout out to you as well on your own platform, that like we can't do the work we're doing if you don't birth our lives. No. So that is not only you personally, but when you went live about your nonprofit Scout Wild Awake, like it touched me there. One, because like I've had a baby and in that system, and was blessed and probably privileged because of the white women around me making sure my adoption went right. So like that touched me really deeply. Like, again, I'm not someone who necessarily wants to have kids myself, but like kids, like especially Black kids, I'd be walking around seeing like Black teenagers just been like, I'm with you. Am I cool enough? You know what I'm saying? Like, support you. You're beautiful. Like, just random shit that I'm sure they're like, why is this like lady talking to me like this? But like someday they're gonna remember that like randomly, exactly, someone reminded them that they were beautiful. And like, so that really kind of touched me, and I think is so important because, and again, these are topics we didn't even get into, but like Black girls, how they're protected, I've also told some white people that like, this is a good movement because the cops do fucked up shit to white people too. Like, if you don't think there's a bunch of cops that are still cops that have not molested little white girls, you crazy. If you're like, we're talking about them not beating us, but we haven't talked about this other dark part of the power
that y'all don't want to hear about. Yep. Yeah.
Because it's really, really, and it does come down to this healthcare and birthing, and it's so important. And so I just want to again mention that, like, that touched my heart. It's important. People need to give money to that, and we need to have people that are giving a voice to that problem, because again, we wouldn't be here without Black women and Black mothers and the people who birth us. So it's very, very important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. And I just love you. I love both of you. And shout out to Bound Mystic over there, just giving us wisdom and all the love per usual.
Love and support that I need right now, definitely.
Yes. And also just a message. I said that I would relay this. I don't know why I waited till the very end, but message from my daddy on this platform after him hearing all of the bullshit for the multiple, like the 100th time that you've been dealing with in Dallas. He specifically said, this is his theory, that he was like, oh, it's the Tiger Woods theory. And I'm like, what is that? I'm like, what's the Tiger Woods theory? And he was like, oh, these white people are just pissed that this Black woman's coming out here doing this rope, and they're afraid that she's going to be better than them. Because that's what it is. It's like, there's a lot of white people around here where it's like, white people thought they were safe with golf. Like, they really did. They were like, this is our thing. Like, who's going to come in here and take this from us? And then Tiger Woods came out like the dude he is, and was like, oh, hold on, I'm gonna go ahead and dominate this for a minute, as fucked up as he is, but like, he still did it. And it's over here, just I'm the irony around the judgment of your rope is really offensive to me. Like, on a deep level, like, it's offensive to me. Yeah. And so, yeah, just out here rooting for you every step of the way, and that you're someone who, I have been in this world for 4.5 years, and I watched you. I mean, we both watched you. We talked about it. We both watched you at Ropecraft. We watched you in your performance 365 days from the first time you ever picked up rope and did a performance that my ass would never have the cojones to do on a stage. I would have been all worried about my like uplines and shit and trying to figure out like what I'm trying to do. Like, I'm, as someone who, and you just went up there and you rocked it effortlessly, flawlessly, and in a safe way that was like mindful, that I'm just like, oh, y'all better fucking move out the way. Like, I didn't even know where this came from. Like, I had not seen you sit like Ty since maybe a year before. And so I was just impressed. And I think that amount of impressive skill that we always have, and that's innate to our being, is it scares people. So I just wanted to bring that to the forefront of his opinion. It's the Tiger Woods mentality. And going to be such a badass that you're going to just blow these people out of the water, which is the fear of them stepping down and giving up their power, giving up their space that they have failed in, like you said.
They thank you for that, because that was probably one of the best moments in my rope journey. Because that was a goal, and we worked very hard on that performance, and there were little many things going through my head of like, oh, did that look right? Did that? And then before I did it as well, by the way, sorry, just for a meaningless tag, if you'd like to see this performance, I recorded it. It is on my YouTube channel. The MP experience. But I was a little nervous because I was a lot nervous. Let me not pretend. One, because yes, it was so early in my rope journey, but also because I wasn't doing a traditional rope performance. And I don't really, because of the way that we judge, I don't actually call my performances rope performances. It's burlesque with rope. But that was like a very, very like moment where like I allowed myself to be like, you did good. It's okay. You can say it. That was good.
You can say it.
And one of the biggest moments was you and some people from the Austin community coming up, and like, to be honest, I wasn't like, this was a great compliment. They didn't even say anything about the rope. They were like, that music though. And I was like, thank you. That's, you know what? I didn't even really care about the rope. That was, were you entertained? Are you not entertained? That's really what it was about. So that really means a lot to hear that from you. And I don't mean to get choked up about this, because I'm not trying to like gain empathy, but no one compliments my rope.
Yeah.
No one compliments my rope. No one. And so for people to be like, oh no, we see you and your rope has been getting better, really does mean a lot. Because I have to go, and many times we go back through our pictures and we're the ones that go, okay, we're getting better. And it's such a proactive thing that I try to do in my rope group, is to not only be talking to people when I'm correcting something, but telling them, like, when I'm at my rope group, I walk through and I'm like, that's awesome. That's awesome. If I go to another event and I see someone who's in my rope group doing something and it's getting better, I want to tell them they're getting better, so that that's how you instill confidence. And that's how they know when they're doing something right. And and from my own experience, like, you have to remind people when they're doing good rope, not just when they're doing shitty rope. And that's just with everything too. And you know, in my personal life, even, like, there are little social experiments I do when I leave the house, where I'm like, I'm gonna smile at everyone and see how many, or I'm gonna, like, I'm complimenting every woman I see.
I do that same thing.
Who is shocked, and then like who responds and who smiles. And you know, I've been in customer service for most of my life, so maybe that's why, like, that's instinctual in me. But like, in these spaces, like, encourage people. And again, though, what, like, it seems really simple that I have to say this, but if you're nice and you say nice things, that makes people feel good about themselves, and that also makes them want to come back to your space. So I think too, when people are thinking about, like, you know, why do people want to, you know, aren't coming to the space or making people feel more comfortable in space, again, you can't, it's not just about, like, okay, let's put 3 Black people in there, now they'll feel comfortable. You also need to, like, proactively make sure, like, every new person that comes into your group gets greeted. Everyone that you see come back over and over again, you're reminding them, like, thank you, I see you every single week. Like, you're growing, your rope's been getting better, you've been bringing new people. And sometimes I think we forget to do those things in this community, and to remind people that, like, because we're all growing at all times, but it's good in that growing thing for other people to realize you've grown. There's nothing more than when someone's like, oh my gosh, you have grown so much from last year. Like, you've got, like, even though, like, our ego's like, I was mature then, but it's like, no, it's like compliment. I'm like, you're growing and, like, you're flourishing, and people want to hear and see that. So, not to go on, like, a long rant towards the end, but, like, I really want to emphasize, please compliment people's rope in your community to instill that underlining confidence of, like, I am getting better.
Absolutely. Yes. I love that. Thank you so much. I can't wait to tune in to your fundraiser again next week. You said it was next Friday, correct?
Yes. Friday's our next fundraiser.
Awesome. And I'm sure you'll be back on here, and we'll see each other soon in every capacity. But thank you so much for joining. The Kinky ASF.org link in the bottom. For everyone, please donate, give feedback, comment on the videos. IGTV has the first 60 minutes. The rest can be found on YouTube and Facebook. And peace out. See y'all later.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.